Alexa, stop. There we go. Nice little seasonal beginning to the video. Must I get stricken for that? Hopefully not. It was only for a few seconds, and I don't think it's copyrighted. So today, going to look at the Christmas Mega 2000 AD bumper prog. This is prog 2362. So first of all, that amazing cover of a robot Santa, gigantic robot Santa, basically wreaking havoc even. Judge Dredd running and blasting, and Tharg running away. So 2000 AD used to do annuals every year, hardback annuals back in the 90s and up to the back in the 80s, 70s, 80s and early 90s. Then they went to a softcover annual, and eventually they just incorporated it into the regular weekly. So now what happens with 2000 AD every year, they do a big bumper 100 page issue. For this year it's now £5.99, which is really cheap for 100 pages. And it's just incorporated into the weekly comics, but when this comes out there'll be like a 3-week gap before the next one comes out in the new year. So there's quite a number of stories in it. So the stories that they have, there's Judge Dredd 1 called A Matter of Life and Dread, Azimuth, which is the surprise spin-off from Sinister Dexter, Judge Anderson's Side Division. This time is written by Torun Grombeck, and it's really good. Fiends of the Eastern Front, which is about vampires during wartime. Then one-shot Strontium Dog story, which I'm pleased they brought back Strontium Dog, because I didn't know if they would because of Carlos Esquero sadly passing away. Sorry, I've got my hair's doing my head in, hence the hairband. And then there's a Rogue Trooper one-shot with Trevor Hersign on the artwork. And then there's the ongoing, so they've got the regular weekly strips, which is Helium, which is really good, Enemy Ace, which is a really fun all ages read. Do you ever get that when you feel like you've got a phantom hair attacking your face? Maybe it's just me. The Devils, I'm sorry if I'm a bit, I've had a really nice time out at a thing called the Makers Market in Salford Keys, where it's got like all artisan craft fairs, and went for a meal afterwards with one of my best friends. That's a really gorgeous restaurant, so I'm a bit bloated and a bit but in a good way. And then there's Devil's Railroad Part 10, and then Feral and Foe, which is that one that says like a mashup of Lord of the Rings, Warhammer, and Braveheart, Terry Pratchett. Gotta bear with me, I've still got fatigue. So look at the first strip. So the first strip is written by Ken Nyman, who's done quite a bit of Judge Dredd. Artwork by Tom Foster, who's very reminiscent of Brian Bolland in his clean line work. And for a change, for a Judge Dredd strip, it doesn't actually focus on Judge Dredd, but it focuses on one of his clones, Judge Rico, who's still trying to prove that he's a suitable judge, and he gets involved in an incident. It's a really fun, one and done, slightly extra-sized story. Gorgeous artwork. And then after that, I just got to show you this advert for the Judge Dredd magazine Christmas issue, which will be out later on this week. Really great picture of Dredd there with fairy lights around his baton or truncheon. And then we have Azimuth returning in a one-shot, but this opens up a whole new can of worms for, just throw some of this shit on the floor. Opens up a whole can of worms for the storyline of Azimuth, as it was revealed later on in Azimuth. It led into something bigger, which is what I love with 2000, how they can sometimes pull the wool over your eyes and then there's this great reveal. So basically Azimuth is like the next step of evolution in the storyline of Sinister Dexter. So you've got Ramon there, who's Ramon Dexter, and Sinister unfortunately passed away. But the artwork in this is so nice. Same artist from the ongoing strip of Asimov. The artist's name is Tajio Betin. But yeah, this is essential reading if you're a fan of Asimov, and I think it's going to get collected. It's such a fun, contained universe, but there's a really good twist at the end of the story, and I can't wait for the ongoing series to come back again, because it's left me on a chomping at the bit to know what else happens. And then I think this is her first Judge Anderson story, what she's ever done. I could be wrong, but it's Torren Grombeck, who's currently done work on the Battle Action series, and she's also done some Punisher work for, and I'm pretty sure she's doing Red Sonja, Venom and Carnage. And this is a Judge Anderson one with artwork by Kieran McKeown. Very nice artwork. This is a really good, quite hard hitting Judge Anderson side division, so I hope that they actually get Torren back on to do some more Judge Anderson, because she really has got her voice down pat, and it's a really good, again, one and done story. Quite brutal in places, quite severe in what happens, but a very satisfying conclusion. And yeah, it was a good, really tasty read. Then there's a look at the past year, so to give a good, concise review of what's happened in 2000 AD these past 12 months. And this next strip is just so gorgeous, with the artwork by Tiernan Trevelyan and art written by Ian Edgerton. Fiends of the Eastern Front. So this is about vampires during wartime. The artwork has slight shades of Mike Mignola. It's a very, very classy vampire tale. Much better than Blade or anything like that. It's not bogged down with like trying to make a vampire story, a superhero story. It's just out and out horror, and it is so good. This is a comic that I do want to get. I think the previous stories are in a collected form, but I've just not got around to buying it yet. But yeah, that's a very satisfying read. Then there's a new Strontium Dog entry, written by Rufus Hound, who's more known for acting and doing comedy, with gorgeous artwork by Dan Cornwell, who at the moment is doing Spectre for Judge Dredd magazine. So there's some very tasty, very reminiscent colours to square, but not trying to copy him. Black and white artwork, but then there's some, I've not actually read this story yet, there's some splashes of colour which are gorgeous. Really gives the contrast from the mundane black and white to a flashback in colour, which is unusual. Normally they do flashbacks in the black and white and the current storyline in black. They do flashback in black and white and then the current storyline in colour, but they flipped it on this one. So yeah, it looks really nice. And then there's a Rogue Trooper story written by Jeffrey D. Wessel. I'm not familiar with them. Artwork by Simon Colby, who's always good. Can't go wrong with a nice Rogue Trooper storyline. Big fan of the character. But again, it's just self-contained, a special one-shot tale for the Christmas special. But I think hopefully he will be returning. I hope Garth Ennis returns, because it was an intriguing story, and there's a nice poster of Rogue Trooper. Pardon me. Then they carry on with the ongoing strips. So this is Helium. This is part 11. Gorgeous Disraeli artwork, and it's written by Ian Edgerton. They've done a lot of work together. Very solid creative team. Some writers and artists just gel, like Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and Ian Edgerton and Disraeli are another team who work so well together. It's a good steampunky kind of adventure strip. And then there's Enemy Earth, which is such a fun, like I said, all ages, end of the world kind of story. Very apocalyptic, but very, very fast paced as well. It's just like a rocket ride. There's just no stopping on the impetus. It just ups and ups and ups in the storyline. And then my favourite current story is The Devil's Railroad by Ruth Steglow, and Pete Milligan writing it, with colours by the brilliant colourist Jose Villarrubia. And it's so good. It mixes social comments, political commentary, with a solid science fiction adventure. Highly recommend it, and again, it will look great when it's collected. Then the advertising, I thought this was an advert for a film, but they're actually bringing out the next Thistlebone story next year by Simon Davis on artwork. Can't wait for that. And then next chapter of Feral and Foe, one of my favourite new strips of recent years. Solid fantasy story with a very strong humour streak running through it, dark humour. But yeah, so that's it. I would say last year's was better for people who hadn't tried 2000 AD. Because last year, I think there's only like 1 or 2 strips what were ongoing, but the rest were brand new. So it was a good jumping on point. This is not a good jumping on point. It's a great Christmas gift to those like me who are already getting 2000 AD. But I think it'd have been a better idea if they'd have just made it a jumping on point for all stories. You know, just maybe. The problem is because they do this regened where they do the young people's version every 6 weeks or whatever, that eats into the schedule quite a bit. So I think if they got away with those, just did those as a separate entity completely, they could have finished this before Christmas and released this with all new stories, and it'd have been a great jumping on point for a lot of people who maybe wanted to try 2000 AD, but I've never found a good time. I know they did a stepping on point a while ago, but would have been a good idea. But apart from that, if you already get 2000 AD, you're gonna love it. It's fun. It's a great Christmas treat. This is, for me, it's like the start of Christmas. It's just something that when I get it through the post, I'm like, yes, it's here. Christmas is about to start. So yeah, really fun. They're the only comic company who celebrate Christmas in this style and fashion and make it a complete integral part of celebrating Christmas. In the UK, we get a TV guide called Radio Times, which also has a big bumper thick Christmas issue, and it's kind of like that kind of idea where you just get it whets your appetite for celebrating Christmas with your family. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, not ideal if you're a newbie, because it's like a game of two halves. There's half of it is new one and done stories, but the other half are stories which are very deep in the storyline. But yeah, great, really enjoyed it. Okay, so I will do the Judge Dredd one when that comes out. I think my next video, what I'll do, will be Lady Killer. I will be doing Berserker. The reason I keep on putting it off, I've not read the last 2 chapters yet. So, if that gives you any indication of how I feel about it at the moment, I like the first 2 books, put it that way. So, it's the 3rd book that I'm struggling with. So, once I get in the mood to read it, I will do the review for that. So coming up, there'll be a Lady Killer review, not an overlook like I just did a flip through last time, but a proper review of it. And then I'll be reviewing my new comics, but they've not all come out yet. There's been a delay again. So hopefully I'll get that tomorrow, so I'll do that later on this week. Okay, bye.